You are accountable to God for everything you do in your whole life's journey. And those three things have stayed with me since I was 18 years old and has helped me on my ministry journey.
Welcome to the Eden Podcast, where we true the verse of Genesis 3:16, and we discover that God didn't curse Eve or Adam or limit woman in any way.
This is Media Monday. I'm Bruce C.E. Fleming, Executive Director of the Tru316 Foundation. Our website's Tru316.com. That's Tru316.com. And we're the home of the Eden Podcast. We have a very special guest who I met many miles ago in Kinshasa, Congo. And we met under the acacia trees, and we were relaxing in the afternoons, late afternoons after our meetings. But I will let Joanne give you the official introduction for our guests. Go ahead, Joanne. Joanne Hagemeyer, my co-host here on the Eden Podcast.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm delighted to talk about Esme Bowers. She's the founder of the Consultation of Christian Churches in Cape Town, which is an international network of Christian leaders addressing issues in the city. She's also one of the founding members of the Evangelical Alliance of South Africa, and she currently serves as chairperson. She also started the women's ministry in the Full Gospel Church of God in South Africa. And Esme served as chair of the Pan-African Christian Women's Alliance for 3 terms. In 2012, Esme became one of the founding members of the African Women in Mission Network and presently serves as the chair. She's also the World Evangelical Alliance Director for the Department of Church and Community, working with a team of 10 global ministries and developing healthy churches. And as you can see from this really wonderful resume, that Esme's passion is in seeing people's lives, and especially women's lives, transformed by the power of the gospel and equipping them in their role as community transformers. And we are so glad to have you with us, Esme.
Thank you, Joanne, and thank you for having me. I look forward to this time together.
Wow. I don't think I know the answer to this first question that I'm going to ask, so I'm looking forward to your story. Esme, can you tell us how you came to know Christ and began to and grow in him?
Yes, at the age of 12, I belonged to the Methodist Church, and we had a young people's event for a week Bible study, and I fully began to understand what redemption was all about. And so when they made an altar call, I gave my life to Christ, and I said, this is what I want in my life. One thing I could not understand was the whole idea of sin entering the world and the need for a savior because of sin. And so Genesis really became a stumbling block to me right at the beginning of my life as a Christian. So I have developed, I have grown. That was, I want to say 60 years ago. And really, I've been on this journey, and this faith journey has helped me to become the person I am today. And I would not be who I am without Christ in my life. I really believe in reading his word every day, in praying every day, in sharing who he is with whoever, wherever I find myself. And this gives me great joy to be on this journey.
Thank you so much. That's the beginning of the story. And we all need that foundation in Jesus. So then you have a ministry story, and of course the resume, which rhymes with Esme, is vast and lengthy. So Esme, can you tell us how you got from the Methodist Church there to Kinshasa and to where you are in South Africa today?
Okay, Bruce, that's a long story, so I'm going to try and cut some of it, but I need to say some things in my story. Firstly, at the age of 15, I was invited to teach Sunday school, and that became a real passion and still is today. In fact, I've just returned from the Global Children's Forum, where we had 121 people from 29 countries looking at the issue of how to develop resources for children. And at my age, you'd think that this was past me, but I was so excited to see what is happening with children, because they certainly are the future of the gospel. I became a Sunday school teacher. At the age of 18, I was elected to become the Sunday school superintendent. Now, within the church I served, we were real egalitarians. Women were taking key roles in everything. So these women were my role models. When they elected me, and I can tell you this was a big Sunday school, 300 children, 52 teachers, and 47 people elected me just outright. And I couldn't believe it. I was actually quite shocked. The next day, the minister came to see me. He was a smart man. And he sat down with me and he said, Esme, you're still young. You've got lots and lots to learn. But let me tell you some things. 47 people voted for you and 5 people didn't. Watch out for those people and you love them unconditionally. It doesn't matter what happens. Secondly, he said, you walk humbly before people and before God. Don't let this go to your head. Stay humble. Thirdly, he said, you are accountable to God for everything you do in your whole life's journey. And those 3 things have stayed with me since I was 18 years old and has helped me on my ministry journey. Sometimes we need mentors. We think that we know everything when we're young, but somebody giving you some wise words really helps you. I come from South Africa, so obviously I've grown up during the apartheid era. And justice is a very big thing in my agenda, always has been. And so when I began looking at churches and the injustices that women faced within the churches, me coming from a Methodist church, and now moving into ministry and seeing the injustices that women who were really qualified and gifted had to endure, it irked me. And so I began a journey of trying to find out what the Bible really said about things and how I can equip myself to be a spokesperson for justice for women, not only in communities, but in the church. And this really became something that helped me to move forward in the women's ministry in the Full Gospel Church. Whenever there are women, I say, I'll take it. Because if I can empower them, if I can give them the skills, if I can help them raise their voices, I believe that they become much more effective as God's servants. And I've seen that as I've worked with women and men, I see women do so much better. I need to say that. And so I do not see women as inferior in any way. In fact, I think that they are God's best model. You know, he made Adam and then he made Eve. And, you know, you can understand why sometimes Adam feels a little bit threatened because that other one is really the latest model and does much better. And so I'm excited to work with women and all the things that they do. And so I do it with a smile on my face. And I try to do it as gently, but I can tell you my ministry story has been one of pain and lots of rejection. And if I did not have a spouse that I have, I think that I would also be quite hurt and bruised. But I have this husband who, when I go out on these escapades, as he calls it, and I come back from these board meetings where I'm the only woman, and I feel that they have been extremely unkind, and I get off the plane and he picks me up at the airport, he can see my face, and he just kind of smooths my feathers down. He fixes the wings, and I say, I'm never going back there again. And he said, that's what God has called you. And so together we work on this. And he's one of my greatest supporters. And so really it's good to do this journey together, knowing that I'm not on my own. I have a strong theologian. He's got a strong theological mind. He helps me think through things. And it's really helped me to become who I am today.
So I saw his name as well on the participants in the Lausanne Congress that you had in South Africa. Was so I could tell he was already involved with that. That's really interesting.
Well, you know, I hosted that Lausanne Congress. So it was a lot of work. I couldn't do it on my own. So certainly I had a huge team, and obviously we were pastors in a local church at that time. So all my members were helping me. We had assistant pastors. They all helped me. And of course, he did all the hosting of all the people who really didn't want to be hosted by a woman. And that was fine also with me.
So I happened to go to the Lausanne Congress on World Evangelization at Lausanne, Switzerland in 1974.
Okay, that gives your age away. You do know that, eh?
I know. I know. But I was part of the committee that talked about the uniqueness and authority of Scripture, which was right at the foundation of all the work that we did back then at the Lausanne Congress. And they did. I was just a student in seminary in those days, but happy to be there. So when they had another one or two, and then you had the one in Lausanne. Are there any stories that you have from there about the importance for an individual or two, what happened at that Congress?
Well, I would like to say that the Lausanne is a movement. It's not an organizational structure.
Right.
So people come in and they leave. They come in with their expertise and who they are at that time. They bring their skills, they teach, they write, and together they think together. For me particularly, I've seen the way that we do this. In 2004, we met in Thailand and we had all the issue groups that we were thinking of, and we thought together and prayed together in preparation for a conference that was going to happen in 2010. So it's a long journey of journeying with each other, of connecting together, of thinking together, of bringing the right minds together. What they are doing now is they are having a conference which is much more geared to younger people. So I'm quite happy not to go to Seoul and just get onto the Zoom calls and not sit and queue for 6,000 people to get my meal. That's quite a challenge. But you have access to all the materials. And what they're doing is they've actually regionalized it so that you can meet with your regional group. So in Africa, we have a regional group, and they've just finished their meetings last week. And so they discuss about the issues that affects that particular region. And that's really significant. There are also issue groups which you could join, which also makes it interesting because it makes it very varied. And out of the Lausanne Congress comes LOPs, Lausanne Occasional Papers. And those are really great to read and to inform one, particularly in the context that you are. Well, we had our one in 2010, there's a 14 years later, and so obviously everything is much more updated. So I look forward to the publications and all the interaction and engagement that we will have.
I have a question. I've been thinking about that excellent counsel the pastor gave you at 18, and I wish someone had given me such good counsel at such a young age. And I'm wondering if you've been able to mentor other women along the way and given them counsel.
Oh, that is my absolute delight at this time in ministry. I work with an organization called Tru316. Tru316 is one of the women in Numbers who came to Moses and said, there are 5 sisters. Our father is dead. We are not allowed to inherit, but we would like you to change the law and please give us our inheritance. And so they actually did advocacy on behalf of each other, went to Moses. Moses went to God. God says, change the rules. And so these 5 young women went and got a whole set of rules changed just because they are there. And so this is Tru316 that I work with. We do advocacy, and I particularly lead a department called Leadership Development. I'm the Director of Leadership Development, and I have within my group 350 mentees and 60 mentors all around the world. And I help the mentors become better as they go along. But this is the second time around that we're doing this course. And the last year that we completed, I see these women really rising, not only in their understanding of who they are, because they've had mentors walk alongside them, but also in their corporate environments, because these girls are between the ages of 20 and 35. They are at university, they're finishing their degrees, they're doing 2nd or 3rd degrees, they're getting married, and they've got somebody to walk alongside them at this very difficult stage of their life. And so I'm so excited about this program. It costs us nothing really to run. I do it on Zoom. I have regional leaders who actually do the lead, and we have the materials, and it's the most fantastic opportunity to help people to understand who they are in Christ and how they can develop their skills and actually lead where they are. So you can see I'm excited about this.
Yes. I so hope we can get a link for that for our listeners, because that sounds really marvelous.
Yes,
Grateful for that.
All right, we'll check in with you. So, Joanne, you have an understanding about how I felt in Kinshasa. Well, it's been a while now. I was having meetings in the capital city of the Congo, and Esme was having meetings there as well. And we both had rooms in the guest house, and between meetings, we both kind of leaned up underneath the eaves of the building there to kind of stay out of the sun and catch any breeze that we could. And we started talking. Oh, hi, I'm so what, we just started meeting. And this brings us to the Tru316 story, part of our interview today. So as we were talking together, I was explaining how my wife, Joy, Dr. Joy Fleming, had done research on Genesis chapters 2 and 3. And you were interested in that, weren't you?
Oh, yes, I really was, because it was something I was struggling with, particularly finding out the real meaning of things. I was looking for academics who could open the window for me to see really what the word was saying. So that was a really extremely interesting encounter. I'd already started walking with Catherine Kruger, who had actually founded the Christians for Biblical Equality, and we were already friends together, and we were working on a task force on abuse, and particularly dealing with the issue of men and women, and the whole challenges of sin. And so when I met Bruce, this was an interesting time under the very, very humid sun in Kinshasa. And I think we were just both exhausted. It's a foreign language we're talking, and here we could just sit, relax, and talk about things that interested us both.
Mm-hmm.
While I was talking to him, I met another group of people, and I think, Bruce, you introduced this group of women, the Circle, who had come in also, and we started sitting and talking, and I again became connected to the Circle, which is the group that works with African female theologians, really significant group of women doing fantastic work in Africa. And I think one of the things for me that was exciting was that this whole issue of addressing the women's issue was not just being done by the Western world, but how we in Africa were looking at the whole issue of women. And really, sometimes we can't find each other because we see things very differently from an ethical perspective, but yet we can learn from each other. And so that was really a significant meeting Bruce. And since then, he's been sending me little notes to read his books, and sends me his books. And Bruce, I really appreciate the friendship we've had over these many, many years, almost 20 years, I think, that we've been connecting. But, one of the things I've found very important is giving people exposure to materials. These podcasts, I think, are really valuable. I think the books are valuable. The Bible studies where you can actually engage with the questions are all very valuable. And I know how Bruce writes his material, so I am not sucking this out of my thumb. I've actually used it in some of the spaces. So I really want to commend what you guys are doing in your organization. Thank you.
So all of that because we sat in a couple of chairs side by side and tried to cool off. And you never know what the Lord's going to bring out of these things. You just never know. No, we now have listeners in 125 countries to the Eden podcast. And so we're excited to get the word out. And we were excited to get the word out about you, Esme. And
yes,
your story is good, but just for Joanne and me and the others to listen, to see, and to hear, you are a role model for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're really grateful. We've been talking to Esme Bowers of what should I call you? The Evangelical Alliance and all the other organizations you're part of. So thank you so much for this time together, Joanne and Esme.
Thank you. I enjoyed chatting to you.
Tru316 Foundation is the home of the Eden podcast. Join us for $3.16 a month or more. Let's true the verses on the key passages on women and men. Go to tru316.com/partner.